former cricketer, I mean, particularly of your stature, uh, remains try to remain with the cricket as a commentator or coaching or something like that. You just choose a different path. I mean,
Yeah, I guess I did. Look, while I was playing, I was always interested in business and charity and different things, and writing books. So I was preparing for life after cricket while I was still playing, and I had a young family as well, 3 kids. So I guess I decided that I didn't want to go back on the cricket circuit because it would be the same lifestyle, and I may as well keep playing if I'm going to do that. So I wanted to spend time with my family, set my charity up in Australia, continue the charity work in India, and do have some business projects which I'm really interested in. I sit on a few different boards, and there was just lots to do, and I just found I didn't have too much time for cricket. But I've done a few things. I've been on the MCC World Cricket Committee I was on that for 8 years. I was on the Argus review into Australian cricket, and I've done some mentoring behind the scenes, so I haven't totally disappeared.
so Steve, you led one of the greatest team ever in Test cricket history. I mean, but personally, if you have to talk about it, what legacy you have left? When you, in 2004, when you left, it was a huge occasion.
Yeah, look, I think legacy maybe. I was very instrumental in setting up the Players Association in Australia, the Australian Cricket Association. So that was something that I was involved in. I guess having families more involved in touring around with cricketers. That was another big thing. Playing wise, always striving to play for a win, striving to play positive cricket, and getting that respect back in for the baggy green to make playing for Australia something really special. So, and I think treating fans with respect and respecting the opportunity to play for Australia, which was a huge honour.
You started a few new things in 1999 World Cup. You started to put cap number, the player
Yes.
number on the back of the cap, and actually you told your teammates to write poetry before the game, and you wrote before the finals. So
Yeah,
those are completely out of box.
Yeah,
How
like
it
I
came?
wouldn't call them poetry, but some inspirational words, and that sort of started from our fitness trainer at the time, who was always very good, and I thought, well, maybe we all should take a turn about inspiring the team rather than the captain or the coach. So that was something that the team got involved in. But yeah, I'm proud of the numbers on the caps. That was something I wanted to start in one-day cricket, and now you see it in all the forms of the game on shirts and caps. So that was something I was really proud of. I guess also the baggy green cap, making that more special and getting people to come in and present the baggy green cap to new players. Cricket-wise, inventing the slow ball out of the back of the hand, that's something I'm really proud of, and people forget about. And
87 World Cup.
yeah,
I
so
remember that. Iceman.
so I see a lot of bowlers bowl that now, and they probably don't realise I was the first one to bowl it. But I'm really proud of that because people see me as a batsman, but I did something for bowling, and I guess there's some of the things.
So when I remember you, I always the picture came to my mind is baggy green on with a stare, but people like Ian Chappell or some of the other players, this is just overblown. They don't give a I mean, don't
Yeah,
care
like
about baggy
I
green.
don't listen too much. There's a few people that throughout my whole career are always very negative, and I don't know whether it was jealousy or maybe I played the same way, or maybe I didn't take their counsel enough. But I guess I was always my own man, and I wanted to find my own way and make my own mistakes, not someone else's mistakes. And sometimes that doesn't please everyone, but at the end of the day, you've got to be true to yourself, and that's the way I was. So I think the baggy green cap is special. I know that players in my era and the ones now think it is the ultimate, and it's great to build up a tradition like that. I think it's something to be proud of, and other teams look at us, and I'm sure they would love to have their own symbol as strong as the baggy green.
Yeah, I think it's a game, but still you have to make it something more important because you are playing your
Yes,
life,
of
you're
course.
giving your 100%.
Yeah, look, I think symbols and colours and names are really important to organisations because it means you're part of something. And if you feel as if what you're doing is really strong and united, and a symbol makes it even stronger, like the baggy green, then that's got to be a good thing because it can intimidate opposition. It makes you feel proud to wear the baggy green. So I think things like that are really important to organisations. It might be what you stand for. It could be a couple of words. It could be a quote. It could be your colours. I mean, Coca-Cola is known for red, the colour. Mercedes-Benz, everyone knows that symbol. And Australian cricket, they know the baggy green.
Steve Waugh took over the team. I mean, it was started to get a little bit success under Mark Taylor. So what was the first thought? I mean, for a captain, it's important
Yeah.
to stamp his own.
Sure. Look, I think I wanted to really try and get rid of the dead rubber syndrome where we tended to lose matches at the end of series. Make sure we could win away from home. And we had the goal of winning every test match. I believe we had a good enough team to win every test. People said before that you can't win every test. Well, I thought, well, why can't you? It's just because someone said you can't do it doesn't mean you can't. That it can't happen. So we just tried to set new benchmarks. We tried to do things a little bit differently. I think John Buchanan was important in that. I wanted him to be the next coach because I knew he would challenge the players. We could have got another coach in to keep us at the same level, but I wanted the guys to be poked and prodded a bit and stimulated to try and get them to play better, to take us to the next level.
And your team were just full of great players. I mean, so one of the biggest challenges was to manage their egos, because great players have egos.
Of course, yeah. Look, there's been plenty of fantastic sides that haven't had success. So, yeah, part of the challenge is making sure everyone's happy and content, and the interests are aligned. And yeah, sometimes you got to put egos aside. But you don't do that all yourself as a captain. You have strong seniors or players. I always wanted my other 10 players to be all vice captains, not just one vice captain. And if something was not quite going right on the side, I would rely on some other players to be my eyes and ears, because sometimes players don't show the captain what's going on all the time. So you need people to sort of manage a side and keep it under control, and you need to take advice off people sometimes. But at the end of the day, you've still got to make that decision because you're the leader and people expect you to make tough decisions.
Who was the most difficult to manage?
No, I'm not going to say who was most difficult, but I put players into high maintenance, low maintenance, and some people that need to be watched and managed some of the time. But you need a team with different types of personalities and players. You don't want everyone the same. You need people to challenge you as long as they know when to pull back. And so I was happy that we had a mix of players, and I think it's the same in any organisation. You're not going to get everybody in your team or your workplace to be perfect. You want different ideas, different concepts, but as long as at the end of the day, eventually they're all going in the same direction, that's what you try and do.
Steve, you suffered a lot of heartbreaks at the start of your career. I mean, under Alan Border, it started the resurrection, but in the beginning it was loss after loss. So that played a part when you became captain, because you have seen the other side of that.
Sure, yeah, I think that was important. I mean, my first win as a player in a test match was my 13th test match. That was about a year and a half before I won a test match. 26 tests before I scored 100. So, yeah, my first 4 years were extremely difficult. A lot of self-doubt. The team was losing a lot of time. Respect amongst the public wasn't very good for Australian cricket. So they were difficult times, and I think I never forgot those. So that's the reason why we never became complacent, because I knew what it was like and I never wanted to go back there. So that was an important lesson to learn. I think that helped my captaincy and my career, because I think sometimes you've got to see the lows to appreciate the highs, and I certainly had plenty of those in the early part of my career.
So about your batting, I mean, you started as a carefree batsman, as I heard from Australian. I haven't seen much, but I heard from Australian journalists. Then you changed your game, hardly pulled or hooked.
Yeah, well, I think it was just common sense. We're up against the great West Indies bowlers, and I think if they come out today, there'd be a few players maybe not pulling the pull shot and hook shot out, because one, it was you could get injured, two, you were going to get out pretty regularly. So that's why I stopped. And then when I stopped, I found it was a good method for scoring runs. But you're right, I was pretty cavalier, and all my younger days I was the quickest scorer and probably at the most sixes, and even when I started playing short cricket it was exactly the same. But I started off with that approach. Maybe I was trying to please people by playing that way, but I wasn't getting a big score, so I was trying to please other people by the way I was initially playing. Then I found out a method to score runs, and then I get the last 1 or 2 years of my career I was pretty back to almost carefree again. So I sort of went the full circle. Looking back, sometimes I wish I would have continued to play the pull shot, because I could play it pretty well, and it's an exciting shot to play. But once you got into a routine, it was hard to change, because again I'd been through tough times. When I did well, I thought there's no point in changing too much. Let's not tinker around too much.
But when you batted, it was how many minutes left?
That's right, yeah, fine.
Yeah. I was a big fan of you and Marco both, and for both different reasons.
Sure.
The way you changed your game, Marco is all. I mean,
Yep.
I don't need to explain.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just thought that I wish I can bet like Marco or something like this. Looking is so easy.
Yeah, no, I always thought it was reasonably easy. Just appearance-wise, it's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was young, I would outscore Mark every time we played. I was a much quicker scorer, so it just shows, that I just changed my game a bit more than Mark. And maybe at the end of his career, he probably would have thought, maybe sometimes I needed to look a bit uglier to score more runs. He probably wasn't willing to do that enough. He did it towards the end of his career, but early on, I think he could have changed his game a little bit to possibly score more runs, but then he might have been the same player. So everyone finds their own way. Mark was easy to watch. I wasn't as pleasing on the eye, but at the end of the day, it never really concerned me because the job was to score runs, and the team was playing an aggressive, attractive brand of cricket, and you need different types of players in your team.
Yeah. If your team, just hypothetical question, pitted against that great West Indian side of 80s or early 90s, what would be the result, do you think?
I really don't know. I know it would have been competitive. It would have been a close contest, but it depends whether you're playing with helmets or without helmets. I think without helmets, the West Indies would have had an advantage. 4 quicks bowling 90 miles an hour plus with no helmets. And back those days, you didn't have the restrictions on bounces, so it was a different game. I think with helmets and restrictions on bounces, I think we'd beat them. I think without helmets and no restrictions, they would probably beat us.
I mean, I know you are a very keen follower of cricket history. You have to pick 3 greatest test sides. People talk about 1921, Warwick Bradman's Invincibles, your team, and Lloyd's team.
It's extremely hard. I mean, I just know the team I saw, the West Indies in the 80s, where they're unbeaten for 15 years, and we hadn't beaten them for 22 years. It's a pretty amazing record, particularly when you consider they weren't neutral umpires as well. So that just shows how good they were. I mean, they've got to be there. I think we had some great sides over a 10-year period, so they're up there. And 48 Bradman's team, the 21 side. Look, who knows? I mean, it's exceptionally hard to pick. I'll leave that to other people to judge, but I just know that the team I played in would have competed against anyone.
Steve, what was the toughest spell you faced as a batsman? I mean, you have gone through a lot of...
I think Ambrose and Bishop in Perth. I think on one occasion where it was a springy, bouncy wicket. It's probably the only time I went out to bat and I thought, I don't know how I'm going to score any runs. I don't think I can score runs against this. They were just balls leaping off the length, carrying 30 metres behind you, and you look around and think, wow, how am I going to score a run? So I think Ambrose at his peak on a bouncy Perth pitch, and then Bishop from the other end, who without a back injury would have been an all-time great as well.
So, I mean, overall, I think he's the toughest bowler you faced. That was a particular
I think Donald was a fantastic bowler, and then you got Akram and Yunus, great combination. Malcolm Marshall, when I first started playing, was still a great bowler, although he probably wasn't at his peak. Ambrose, it's just hard to actually name one. Abdul Kadir, I thought was a great bowler when I first started playing. Certainly he was too good for me when I first started. I think if I had picked one bowler like on my side, I would go for Ambrose.
So Steve, I don't know, will you go with me or not? People said that Shane Warne revived leg spin. I think he took it to another level, but it was Abdul Qadir actually who revived
he certainly didn't get a lot of recognition, Kadir. He's a great bowler, you're right, and he was like the magician who could turn games and spin the ball a mile, and you're right, I think he was the start of it for sure, and you obviously had Murley bowling the other way. I don't think one person changes the game totally, but obviously Shane took it to a new level after Kadir, but Abdul was, I think, a fantastic bowler.
Do you think you didn't get the due as a batsman? Because during your time, people would talk about Tendulkar, Lara's...
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when Tendulkar and Lara had their peak, I think my record was just as good, if not better, and I think I was ranked number 1 batsman in the world for 95 tests, so I had a couple of years there I was ranked number 1 batsman at the same time they were playing, so I think people love the style of Lara and Tendulkar, and that's that, but I think at the time my record for a number of years was equally as good, but at the end of the day I was happy to be scoring runs, and I felt as comfortable playing against those guys. I felt I was I could do a job against those guys for my team just as strong as they could do for their team.
Who was your favorite between those two?
Yeah, it's always hard to answer that question. I think both at their peak, they're both amazing players, and you actually enjoyed watching them score runs, even though they were batting against you. I think Lara had the ability to just lift against the best like Australia. He always played a different level against us. Having said that, so did Tendulkar. I really hate picking between players like that. I think they're both incredible players.
So, have you followed Bangladesh lately?
Yeah, I'm really impressed by their improvement over the last 12 years, particularly in Test cricket. I'd like to see them focus more on Test cricket, not so much one-day cricket and 2020 cricket. If Bangladesh is to improve, they must be better at Test cricket. I think that's happening. The results are getting better, and I'd really like the captain and the senior players to tell the younger kids that Test cricket is the ultimate in cricket and not 2020.
Bangladeshi players who toured Australia in 2003, they still talk about you. I mean, how generous you to come to the dressing room and say.
Yeah, look, I always prided myself on. If someone asked me a question on cricket, I would always answer it because I backed myself to be successful anyway. And if I wanted my help, I saw that as a sign of respect. So I was always happy to help. And yeah, we had some good times in the change room against Bangladesh. They performed pretty well on that Test match in Cairns. They played well. They batted well in the first innings, and in Darwin they played pretty well as well. So yeah, I was always happy to help.
Would you love to play in this era, T20?
Of course, yeah, I think it's great, but I must go because I'm got to function. But yeah, T20 cricket would be fantastic. I think it's exciting. You can express yourself as a player, and obviously financially, it's great for your family.
Last question. You knew it was coming. Shenwan. I mean, is there always a character like him who always?
Yeah, there's always one. There's always a player like that in the side. I think Shane, once he's retired, has been more vocal when we played. We all got on fine. There was never a problem. It was a happy side. We had many great memories, and I prefer to stick to those.
He haven't picked you in his 11. I mean, unbelievable.
I didn't know he was a selector.